Today's the day for another Shillcast. Talk about this gun today, Zermatt Waltz 9 pistol. Uh, a joke about Shillcast, 'cause I like being transparent. I actually hate the idea of discount codes or anything like that, and try to be very transparent. So, like I mentioned before, I got these guns for free. I'm not financially incentivized to have them succeed or anything like that. The owner, Dave's a guy I've known for 10 years, give or take. I've shot the gun, I don't know, for probably a year before it was even unveiled. So it's kind of fun having a little bit of a backstage seat and I don't know what the percent, a decent amount of say so in some of the things in the pistol, which I thought was pretty cool. Obviously, they're not asking me how the gun's engineered, but as far as some of the options, how it's sprung, grip shape, some of that stuff, I got a little bit of a say so, which made it fun. So anyway, there's a lot of questions on the video I posted on YouTube, and so this is just easier. I'm lazy to make a video talking through and answering your questions compared to, typing out a response for each one of them. Also, I talked to Dave yesterday on the phone. Well, he called me. I hadn't talked to him for a few weeks. So there was a couple questions I asked him just to make sure I was giving correct information. First one of the most common ones, is the Waltz still to be available for pre-order in Q2? It sounds like Q4 is when they plan to actually be shipping pistols. So sometime in third quarter it should be opening for pre-orders. He's got I'm not going to get it right, so I'm not going to try to. But kind of like finalizing the assembly or a final batch of pistols that have been through the regular process separate from the prototype guns. So like guns that have been made for real or like they'd be made for consumers. Taking those to the range and putting tens of thousands of rounds through it just to make sure the experience mirrors what was in the prototype guns I have. Also, apparently there have been some changes to some of the parts, like made them more beefy or updates. Like I broke a firing pin on, not this one, the sight block gun, and apparently that was a pre-production also. So there's been some changes made to that. So anyway, they're still doing. It's kind of obscene how many rounds go through the guns, and if I was home more, I'd be helping just because it's fun. I mean, honestly, you just go and shoot the guns until they get super hot, or you shoot a few thousand rounds through it, or they get lubed every 1,000 rounds or 1,500 rounds or whatever, and that's just the deal. You just jam mags and blast for an afternoon, which is, it sounds like fun. Towards the end, it kind of turns into work where I don't really care. As long as they're going into a backstop, that's fine. But anyway, it's fun. So the next question. Have you run 9mm major to the Compt one? Yes, I had a decent amount of 115 full metal jacket stuff that was going like 1,300 feet per second. I don't know if that quite makes major, but it's close to it. That stuff shot really good out of the gun. I liked it. And then Dave has shot some actual major, like USPSA loaded major out of the guns also. I'll let Dave speak for if the guns are designed for a steady diet. If you shoot, I shot a few thousand rounds, is no big deal. Not even eventful. I don't know if you'd want to shoot open division or not with it. I think there's probably, I don't know. I let Dave speak for that or not. If there's any extra parts wear, stuff like that. Have I tried the new Glock Mech-Gar 20 round magazines? If so, how do they run? I can't speak, I guess, to the new 20 rounder specifically. I've tried. Problem is Mech-Gar has a lot of variations or updates, or I think continuously chasing problems, if I'm being real. As far as Glock magazine goes, for Beretta 92, CZ, Tanfo magazines, they're good to go. For Glock, I think they've been less than impressive. Early on, we had some magazines that didn't work right. They'd first round would nosedive in the Waltz guns. So I was curious about that. So then I brought a Glock 47 and a 17 that had factory recoil springs. They had aftermarket triggers. But other than that, factory guns. They did the same thing in the Glocks. So then we determined some magazines were good, some were no-go. And I think Dave has some Mech-Gars he uses, but I just stick with the Glock OEM ones. I posted or reposted somebody's story online. I got a bunch of questions on Instagram about it. One thing you can do, or that I like doing, I guess the complaint I'd have with OEM Glock magazines is that after they hit the ground a bunch, especially if the range has a lot of dust or loose dirt, the magazines kind of, I don't know, soak that stuff up and they get to where they hang in the gun or they don't drop quite as freely. If you use an Armor All wipe or like the silicone like oil like you use on guns, whatever, to protect them. All that does is just kind of slick them up. So just kind of wiping the magazines with an Armor All wipe, and then just wipe it dry afterwards. It'll if you do that once every couple months, it keeps the magazine slick enough that there's no issues. Well, the metal gun less so issues, but more that happens with the polymer frame guns, the actual Glock magazines in the Glock. They'll start to hang up more. So doing that Armor All wipe trick helps those for what it's worth. But anyway, I don't know if I've tried this specifically, the 20 round mech cars, but in my experience, those have been less than impressive. The other magazine I really, really liked is the PMags. They're cheap and they're good. The problem is, again, for what it's worth, shooting a couple thousand rounds a day after a month of use or something, the PMag springs, I feel like, croaked a lot faster than other magazines. They got to the point where they're just, again, I test them I brought regular Glocks also to test them in to see if we got a Waltz problem or a magazine problem. And the magazine springs just seem like they died faster in the PMags. There's not really a replacement, but they're cheap. So for those, it's like once they started getting kind of crappy and the springs got weak, you end up just pitching them and getting new ones. The only other problem, I don't have a magazine right here in front of me. The magazine from front to back, so like, back strap of the gun towards the front, they're shorter than other magazines. And if you like shooting longer bullets, so 147, like the action pistol stuff, or 150, so like the Syntec stuff, sometimes those will catch in the magazine because, sorry for all the artistic talk, the magazine shorter from front to back and the longer bullets would catch in the magazine. Just even loading them sometimes, you'd feel where you lose spring pressure, and you could just tilt it upside down and pull one or two out and the rest would be stuck halfway. So sometimes before even firing them in the gun, those PMags just don't like long bullets. But if you shoot 115, 124, whatever, I really like them and they're cheap. They just, in my experience, don't have a long lifespan, which most people aren't shooting a few thousand rounds a day, so it's probably not an issue. But just a tangent for what it's worth. All right, one of the more common questions. Early on, some of the videos showed some weak and erratic ejection. Zermatt reported they fixed it with a stronger ejection spring. Have you had any issues with stove typing or damage to optics? How's the grip angle compared to a 2011? Any trouble switching back and forth? First, talking about the weak or erratic ejection. I agree with you. That was one of the first things Dave and I talked about. It's probably not fair to call them generations of guns, but there's been different batches to the testing process. So my sight block gun is a proto prefix serial number. That one is tighter yet. This one is a ZA prefix, ZA04. One of the early guns from that batch, which I think was like the second batch. This one you can just tell it's more relaxed. Since then, I know I didn't use the right word before. I think I called like relaxing the tolerances. Tolerances, if you're playing word games, I guess would say like how much of slop or a variance you're allowing. Instead, they have the same tolerance. They just relaxed the number that it needed to be with the same tolerance, if this makes sense. Intentionally made the guns a little bit looser, but still in the form that anybody that shoots action pistol is going to say, like, this is not a loose gun at all. It's still really tight, but we're talking about tens or hundreds or thousands or whatever. So in the later guns, they'll like run out of the box with Blazer 115s, and the erratic ejection, in my opinion, really speaks to how lubricated the guns are. So my guns, like a very first batch and a second batch guns, which I'm sure I'll get them upgraded to newer versions at some point. Kind of like these guns though. Sentimental value, I suppose. When the guns are lubricated, the brass shoots straight out. No issues with it banging off the optic or anything. That was an extractor change. And Dave had a couple different measurements for those. So that got troubleshooted really quick. The next revision of extractors fixed that issue, but the brass dribbling kind of speaks to if the gun's lubricated or not. So when the gun's lubricated and it's working as it should, you notice positive ejection. I like in the way that it's predictable. So if I'm just watching and you see brass kind of start to dribble out closer to the gun, you just know it's time to add oil. And that's kind of an easy enough thing to realize. So probably every 1,000 rounds you should put oil on it if you're shooting it competitively, something like that. Which, I don't know, I call that a con sometimes. I find it slightly annoying. But, well, today I'm taking my Nighthawk to the range, and it's a pretty nice pistol. I wouldn't shoot the Nighthawk 5,000 rounds without taking the top end off or lubricating it. So these are a nice pistol, and I suppose that's fair. I'm just high maintenance sometimes. Probably the Walthers have me spoiled. But even the Walther steel frame, I still keep them slightly lubed. So anyway, I probably should stop my complaining. But that speaks to the ejector. It wasn't the spring. It was the ejector, like the geometry itself helped or fixed the brass bouncing off the optic. Not to say you can't always have that happen. Like even my Nighthawk has that happen once in a while. But that was fixed with these that update. Well, and even if you look, bro, this thing's been shot a lot. And if you look at the front corner of the optic, it's not like it's all silver or anything like that from brass flying off the front. So, the previous optic I had on this had some nicks and whatever from changing the extractor. This one is the gold Hollow Sun that I put on 3 weeks ago or something like that. It's had a bunch of class days and training days. And as you can see, it's not nicked or scratched up. So now the play is just make sure you keep the gun wet. For his other question, grip angle compared to 2011, trouble switching back and forth. Somebody, or maybe Dave, knows the angle. It's like 18 degrees or 15 degrees or 10 degrees Celsius. I don't know, whatever. It feels very similar to like traditional grip angles. This is probably going to be unfair, but the 1911, the 2011, the Walther PDP, the guns that have the more neutral grip angle, this feels close enough to those. So it's not like switching back and forth between a Glock 17. Whereas if I draw a Glock 17, the front sight's always going to be a tick high until I do a little bit of dry fire and get used to it. With this gun, it's not that big of a deal. I could switch back and forth and shoot this, the Nighthawk, or my PDP, and they all feel the same as far as like the angle for how they index. Let's see. I know they talked about more budget-friendly and carry variants down the road at SHOT Show. Any word on those? I think those are at least a couple years or a year and a half out. Putting words in Dave's mouth. Those will be a bit looking at reducing, I think, some features. But for right now, like the idea is this will be the highest line gun in the fleet, so to speak. And so that gun's going to get brought onto market first. And from what I've kind of seen, even though they're going to have good numbers, I think it'll be a while till they're sitting to the point that people aren't just kind of buying them. There's not a back order catalog for when they're available. So anyway, I'm assuming once that kind of dies down, they've caught up with demand, then they'll start R&Ding for the next gun once this is launched and done like that. Following the Zermatt looks very interesting and refined. Appreciate the disclosure. You get to keep the guns. Yeah, I mean, I think that stuff's important. If I get stuff sent for free, I'm sure there's been times where it slipped my mind, but otherwise, especially big ticket stuff, I try to be very transparent about that stuff. Not trying to be like arrogant or gloat, but it's just important to know if like I'm not getting paid by them, but still getting a free gun. You could call that payment. So that's why I joke and call it a Shillcast. Because I'd be like, oh yeah, it's a total shill for the gun. It's like I happen to know the guy. It's like 50 minutes from my house, 55 minutes, and a guy a friend I've had for quite a while. So it's just kind of fun. Waiting on the Joel Park edition of the gun. I don't think that will happen. It was great shooting those guns in Iowa. Another fun thing about classes is sometimes you get to try a gun you're interested in that you'd never see otherwise. I do my best to fly with these things to class, even if it's like a copper class or an agency thing. I'll use like a polymer frame gun, but have these with me just in case people want to shoot them. And it's not really for everyone. I mean, it's a $5,000 pistol. That's not no money. And I think the important part is like, even if people aren't a buyer for it, they might still want to just shoot it and try it. Just so they can say they've shot it or been curious about it or just something fun to do. So just because people want to shoot them in class, it doesn't mean they have to buy them. I'm not trying to sell people like, oh, let me help you get on the wait. Like, I don't care if you're on the waiting list or not. Obviously Dave will, but I think it's just fun that people get a chance to shoot something they wouldn't normally get to try. Let's see. Thanks for the video, much appreciated. It'd be interesting to see how it compares to a heavy sight block gun, like an MPA. Yeah, I mean, the guns just have little nuances between them. Whether you like a manual safety or not, a striker-fired gun, you like a specific feature of one gun or the other. It's just a preference thing. That's why I don't try very hard to sell them. I kind of just describe the guns and the way I see them or how I think they perform, but then you just shoot it and see what you think. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to sell them to anyone. I had a striker tip break on my Glock 19 within the first 500 rounds. Oh, that is my reminder that it's time to get ready for the range. Let's see. So, replace it and have it had an issue of probably 15,000 rounds. I think he's speaking to the striker tip that broke on, apparently it was an early production or prototype part. But yeah, I broke one of those like 10,000 rounds. But it's tough to say. Dave and I have talked about that stuff because was it a bad part or was it the stuff we were doing to it? It's tough to tell. That's why there was some changes made. But now then with guns, they actually go through, like some get torture tested and way overheated, where when you pour water on it, it starts sizzling. Other guns get kind of a reasonable, where you do like shoot, cool, and regular kind of schedule what regular people would put them through just because you want to have a handle on that. And obviously that happens to more than one pistol. So trying to be responsible. Wish they would take my money. I want one so bad. The weight's killing me. I mean, I appreciate that people want to, well, Dave appreciates that people want to pre-buy or prepay for them, but I actually like it. The company doesn't want to take people's money until they're close to shipping guns, just so they're not hanging on to people's money for no reason. I won't say the name. If you've been around for a while, you'd know, but there's been times in the past where companies have funded the production of the gun through the pre-orders they take. So it's kind of like crowdfunding the R&D process, and then they use the money they get from the pre-orders to work on the final product. Zermatt has plenty of employees, facilities. I'm probably not supposed to say. Several $1 million worth of machines were bought just to build this gun. That's not subtracting or involved with the rifle stuff they already do, because that's kind of at, I don't know, capacity or peak production or whatever. So I'm not saying they don't need money, because obviously they need money to be in business, but they don't need the capital to make the guns. That's why they just want to take people's money until they're ready to ship it, which I like that. Let's see. Seeing more holster options by US. Carry concealment has them. R&D design. I'm going to get that wrong. I know the owner and I can picture his face, but I can't. I think it's A&R design, I think. There's anyway a couple companies. Carry concealment's the one I have, one of the Raptor holsters. Any updates that the Waltz will be carry optics legal for USPSA? So that's the thing about USPSA. The guy that makes the decision isn't. This is totally unkind to say, but the guy that, I'll say it anyway, the person that makes kind of the call for this stuff at USPSA has went to matches before and been bumped from the division he registered for because he wasn't compliant with the rules. So he got bumped to a different division. That's the person that makes the call for this. So it's pretty tough. Unpredictable is a nice way of putting it. So who knows what that clown's going to come up with. But the gun should be, it's striker fired. The gun has a magazine well on it, but the way you remove that is just pushing in on a little pin here. The mag well slides off. So another thing I'm probably not supposed to tell you, but I will anyway. This didn't come from Dave. This came from another source inside the firearms industry. You have to make, or supposed to make 500 of the pistol before you request it to be legal for Carry Optics Division. I know a guy that worked for another firearms manufacturer that Troy, the guy I was saying kind of gets bumped from divisions before, or he gets disqualified so much. It's kind of comical if he actually can finish the match without getting disqualified. But anyway, he told the person, you don't, like, just sign the declaration without saying it. Basically, he implied, just sign the form saying you've made 500. We're not going to check it. I don't care if you've made 500. Dave's not that way, so they're going to actually make 500. They won't be asked to document it or provide proof, but they're going to make 500 guns before they request to be on the Carry Optics list. With the way all the rules are set, this gun should be compliant. But again, the guy making the decision gets bumped from the division he enters or gets disqualified a lot. So it's kind of tough to say there. Let's see. Had the chance to shoot one. Trigger's phenomenal. Felt the grip was too short with the mag well on it. Yeah, so that's the other thing. This stuff all depends on your hand size and what you want. I should have grabbed the shorter magwell gun, but this one with the full-size magwell, you can see when I grip the gun, my hand kind of goes down and just touches the bottom of the magwell, which I feel like is about right, but it's up to whatever you like or don't. Otherwise, you could use the medium size. There's a smaller size magwell from that, or you could shoot the gun without one if you wanted. So, it's just however the gun fits your hand or whatever you like. The gun's being shilled so hard it's becoming a joke. I can't wait to see how the non-influencers manage to break its parts. This will be... I can't picture anyone else doing anything to these guns that we have not done with them, especially that I do to them when it's not my ammo. I'm not responsible for the gun, and it's not my ammo, and I can just do whatever I want to it, but I suppose we'll see if somebody else can have any issues. So one of the comments, it's definitely getting passed around. The gun's getting passed around, but I think the company's using these people for P&R and R&D at the same time. I think that's probably fair. It's there's people interested to try it. So again, more things that maybe I'm supposed to or not supposed to say online. There are a couple guns, maybe it's 2 or 3, that get kind of sent around for people that request, that they'll send Dave a message like, hey, I have a YouTube channel. I want to feature the gun. Would you send me a gun? There's a couple guns in rotation that just gets mailed to people like that or sent to their FFL. Then they get whatever the time is or whatever they agree to it. So the person says, I need it for 2 weeks, or I need it for 3 weeks, or I'll have it back to you in a week, or I need it for a month, whatever it is. And so then like those people and Dave agree on whatever the time limit's going to be. Dave sends them the gun. They have the gun for a couple weeks to make whatever content, shoot it however much they want to, whatever. Then they send the gun back. And I think that's fairly common with the gun tubers or reviewer stuff. Not everyone gets guns to keep, obviously. But that's, again, whether I'm supposed to share it or not. It's kind of how the process works. Dave won't care with me sharing. I can say that, though. Unlike SIG, this would be a symptom of the market. Then make a series of unannounced changes throughout time as the public beta test it. Then they would drop the platform altogether. Yeah, I mean, correct. What the person's saying is, or he's replying to the previous comment. Yeah, basically, people that get the gun sent to them to test, it's more for their benefit just to review or to talk about it on their channel, for them to get exposure or more exposure for the gun, just with people's honest thoughts where they're not getting paid. They're not even getting anything for free other than just getting a loaner gun. But I suppose you could say they're helping with R&D, but in reality, most like the gun tuber people that get the gun sent to them, especially when they have to buy their own ammo and stuff, they're not going to do thousands and thousands of rounds or like enough shooting or experience or time with the gun that they're really like a beta tester by any means. That would be more of like the nonsense that I or Dave put these guns through. Let's see. Did you say it would handle major ammo? Another question for that. So yes, I've shot major ammo through. It doesn't blow up. I'll let Dave speak if you'd want to use it for like a USPSA open division gun with like heavy consumption. I suspect with the right springs, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but that one would be a Dave question. I didn't think to ask him that one. So anyway, that's long enough here. Enough of this nonsense, but hopefully that helps answer some of the questions you guys have about the gun. Again, I think it's been fun for me, regardless if you guys are amused or not. I've had a fun time just being a part of it, and it's cool that it's somebody I happen to know. And again, like 50 minutes, 55 minutes from my house makes it fun, because if I'm home for a day, I can go over there and just shoot, or, I mean, at this point, I just let myself in the front door. I go back to the machine shop or Dave's desk or text him where he's at, and I just walk through the factory, saunter over to wherever Dave's at, and it's kind of fun. Like I said, get to see kind of a front row seat to this gun, but otherwise, I'm not incentivized at all. I think it's just kind of cool. It's been a fun to be a part of the process. So that's what I got for you guys today. If you have any questions, comments, drop them down below. I can always have Dave back on at some point too, if there's enough interest or you want to hear from him also. But the gun will be interesting. And again, I think fourth quarter is when it sounds like the guns will be shipping. Otherwise, when at all possible, I have the guns with me when I go to classes, which isn't trying to sell them to you. It's just, I think it'll be a while until you see them sitting, if it ever happens, at a Shields, a Cabela's, a Bass Pro, Sportsman's Warehouse. I think Gander Mountain closed, but any sporting goods store. So this is just, if you're interested and want to try it, or just to say you've shot it, then, like I said, I'll have them with me in classes. So it gives you an opportunity to shoot them. So thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that garbage. If you have any questions, drop it below, and thanks for watching.